everyone, Sophia here from My Great Challenge. Welcome back to another episode of Anyone Can Quilt. Yes, anyone can quilt. Even this gal here who really struggled this week with finishing the quilt top. So I'm going to show it to you and then we're going to go straight into it. I do want to do a, I got threads everywhere. I just want to give you a little disclaimer. So here it is first. I'm going to move out. Okay, so here is the quilt top, you guys. This is what, if you're quilting along, this is where you're going to be in your next quilting session of 3, because it really took 3 sessions for me to do this. I worked about 3 days, about 2 hours each. So this is the quilt top. It's done. It's pressed. The only thing we have to do at this point, and that's going to be the next episode, is actually quilting it and doing the binding, and we are done. So I'm going to do that this weekend, so that way we can all finish it and have it on our Thanksgiving table. So today we're doing the border, right? So it's going to be this piece right here and the green one, the brown and the green one, and I'm going to show you how to do the branch right here. So the video might be a little bit longer than the other ones. The branch was difficult, I'm not going to lie. This was the first time I did an applique, and I tried to follow something that I saw online about how to do the applique, which required that you use freezer paper, and it did not do what it said it would do. It said it would stick to the fabric so that you could cut and it would not shift, and mine did not stick at all. So I don't know, maybe I needed one that was coated with wax. This one is plastic coated, and then I had a hard time with the sewing. Not a hard time, but it's very tedious and it takes a long time. So I'm hoping I'm giving you the right instructions on how to do it. Very obviously I was able to do it. So let's get started with the border and then we'll do the applique for the branch. I hope you like this. I really do. I think it's very pretty. All right, so I see you at the end. So again, this is a quilt pattern I got from Quilter's World, the autumn quilting, and I believe it's still available. You can also look online. I'm sure the pattern is there, and we're going to do the border, which is right here. So we've done already the entire middle part here minus the branch. We're going to do that today. You'll see that there's a little strip here of brown and then a larger strip right here to frame the entire quilt. So right now I'm going to do the little brown one. So what you need is 2 strips that are going to be 42.5 long and 1 inch wide. So I'm just going to pull at this fabric here that I got at, where did I get this? I got this at Walmart actually. This is just a solid 100% cotton, and what I'm going to do is measure how much I have here, because 42.5 divided by 2 is 21.25. So I'm hoping, yeah, I have enough. All right, so I'm just going to, because this is folded, right? You see that? Okay, so I'm going to put that right here and I'm going to cut it straight. Right, so all I did was follow the mark that I have here at the corner and the one that I have on the other side, and now I'm going to cut. I'm going to turn this so it's easier for me to do. Now I'm going to cut a 1 inch strip. So I'm going to make sure I am squared here, and then the 1 inch mark is going to follow right here. Okay, and that's going to give me 1 strip. Since I'm unfolding it, so here's 1 strip that a little bit over 42.5 by 1 inch, and I'm going to cut a second one on the side. So here's my second strip, and then you need 2 strips that are 1 inch wide and 19.5. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut 2 more. And then what I'll do is that I'll trim them once they are on the quilt top. So this is the quilt top that I finished last week, and what I'm going to start by doing is doing the ones on the side, okay, on the short end. So I'm taking one of my strip, and because this is a solid, it doesn't matter, you don't really have a front or a back, so you're just going to put it this way. I'm leaving a little bit here, and I'm going to leave a little bit on the other side here, and I'm going to sew it directly onto the quilt at 1/4 of an inch seam, and then I'll fold it over this way and press. And here we go. So remember, you're leaving a little bit on the outside, and you're going to align it directly onto the edges, and we are doing 1/4 of an inch. Right, I'm a little bit too far. Right here. Okay. Needle down. I'm just going to go ahead and do the exact same thing on the other short end of the quilt top. You don't need to pin this, it's only at 1 inch. It's not really moving. There we go. So here is our strip on both sides. I'm just going to go ahead and trim it to match this edge right here. Do the same thing here. I got some, right? And then on the other side. I should have pressed it first, so I'm going to do that now. Alright, so all you have to do now is press this, right? And then you're going to take your next strips, and those are going to go, once this is pressed, right? I'm going to give you a little close-up so you can see a little bit better. Here we go. Alright, so once this is pressed, you're going to do the exact same process, except that this strip is going to go all the way to the edges here of the first brown one. So when you turn it and flip it over, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, so let me do that, and then when I come back, we'll be ready to cut the other border, which is the green one. So I just finished that border right here, and I want to show you how you're going to square it off. You're going to just, this is the extra, right? Remember, I was cutting it a little bit longer. So you just take one of your rulers, right? One of your grid rulers, and you go along the edges here, and you stay straight, and you do the same thing here, right? And you're going to just follow that line, and that's going to give you a perfect square. And for the main border, we're doing exactly the same process. I have my fabric folded in half here, and these we need 3-inch wide and 43.5 long, and we need 2 strips. There are 43.5 by 3. Okay, so here's one. Let me separate it so you can see it. Okay, so here's my first strip. Actually, I already cut one, so that's 2. And then the other 2 strips are going to be 24.5 by 3. So these are going to be the short ends. Bring that back right here. All right, and again, you want to align your ruler, your 3-inch mark along the edges of your fabric, because we already squared it off, so we know it's straight. Okay, and here we go. We need 2 that are 24.5 by 3. And I have a lot of that fabric too. I bought it actually from a bolt rather than having fat quarters, because I knew I wanted to make just one cut. I didn't want to have to join them, and I could always use some of that fabric. So here are my strips. We're going to start with the short edge first. Take your strip and you're going to align it. So this one's going to be a little bit too long. That's okay. I cut 4, so it doesn't matter. I'm just going to trim that here a little bit, right? Okay, here we go. So you're going to align this to your brown strip, and then same thing, when that's done you press it and it goes this way, and then we'll do the other one. So let's do this one first, and then I'll show you how to join them this way. So let me just go ahead and press this. And again, you want to press from the flat part of your iron, not the point. Okay, there we go. It's starting to shape up, doesn't it? You just bring your ruler right here to the edges. Right, and snip that off. And do the same thing on the other side. This one is a little bit off, so I'm going to cut here and here. There you go. Beautiful 90-degree angle. Alright, so let me do the other side and I'll show you how to join it here on the long side of the quilt top. And same thing we did with the brown one. You take your strip and you're going to, I gotta pick one that I don't need to iron. I mean, I'm gonna iron it anyway, but I want to show you first how to do it. Okay, so you take your strip, right, and you're going to put it right here. Remember how we cut here at an angle? Okay, so you're just going to put this one here, following the edges. I have a little bit of an overlap. That's because I want to be able to square it off later on. And you're going to just sew at 1/4 inch seam starting here, and you're going to follow the whole length of your quilt top, and then when you fold it over, it's going to look like this, right? At which point we'll cut the little piece off right here. So you see, this is what it's going to look like. Now, after we're done with the applique today, the branch, I'm gonna have to figure out what color I want right here on the edges for the binding. On the particular one that they have in the magazine, the binding is the same color than this border. I don't care for that too much, so I'm gonna see if I can get maybe like a purple color right here to just bind it, but that's gonna be in another video. All right, I got the border done, so you can see as much as I can fit in the camera lens and viewfinder. So this is all done, you guys. Okay, so you could stop there and just go ahead and quilt it and bind it. However, the pattern requires for you, got pieces everywhere, to make a branch right here. Okay, so the magazine itself gives you what do you call it, a template that you can use, but you have to blow it at 200% in order to print it. So what I'm going to do is just make my own. All right, so, and I've never done applique before, so that's going to be interesting. I'm going to fold this a little bit here so it doesn't fall off the table from its own weight. Isn't it cute? I think it looks really, really good. So let's look at what they have here in terms of a branch. My understanding in applique is that you don't want to do things too, you see the template they give you, you don't want to do them too small here, because then it's becoming very difficult. So I'm going to draw something, and in order to do applique you need to use freezer paper, which I believe is probably upside down. Here we go. So you use freezer paper and you make your shape basically with it. And then freezer paper has a coating of wax on it. And what it does is that, I'm going to cut that off right here. It allows you to get it to stick on your fabric so that you can cut it exactly the way you want it. So I'm going to cut here. Oh no, Sophie is using her quilting scissors to cut paper. No good. No bueno. No bueno. Don't do that. Okay. I hope you can see what I'm doing here. Starts at 2 here. Gonna make it a little bit bigger. Alright. And I'm trying to follow the same pattern more or less. So it's gonna go this way. Like this, and then this one goes this way, but it's gonna have to be extended. Right, so I'm going to take the tape to get this extension here. Oh, just finished the tape. There we go. To stick to that. So now I drew on the paper side, okay? The wax side is underneath, okay? I'm going to trim whatever I got that's an excess. What I really need to do, I need to put tape here. Okay, so that's excess. All right, so I'm gonna try to go on the edges here, and we're just gonna press this. And again, what it does is that it glues the paper temporarily, because we're going to remove it afterwards. For some reason mine is not gluing. Oh, because I got plastic coated, not wax coated. Okay, we're gonna have to improvise. Alright, so if you had the wax coated one, it would melt, but mine is plastic coated, so it's not gluing. Okay. So again, if you had the wax coated paper, it would stick to it, but this one obviously is not. So what you do now is that you're going to cut the outline, and you're cutting with the fabric, okay, and you're going to leave 1/4 inch all around. Use a ruler if you're not sure what 1/4 inch is. So you have the branch. This was a little complicated, guys. A little complicated. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to do this. Give you a white background so it's easier to see. Perhaps. Okay. So here's the branch, right? if this was wax paper, obviously it would stick to it. It would be much easier, but we're gonna do what we can with this kind of paper. It's too late for me to go to the store, so I'm gonna remove all my little needles, my pins rather, and we're going to iron this first. So what I'm going to do, and I hope you can see, yep, alright, we're going to fold this. You remember how we cut it at 1/4 of an inch? Alright, so that 1/4 of an inch, you're going to fold it this way, and you're going to do that throughout the entire length of your branch, trying to keep the little design that we did, you know, like the knots, and where the branch doesn't go straight but makes little bumps. So when it turns, you want to make a little slit like this, so it allows you to make the turn. There we go. It's tedious work, guys. Tedious. Well, let's be honest, this was pretty gruesome. I did not enjoy this at all. So anyway, here it is. So the branch goes this way, right? And so I use starch, so it's a little bit better. This way, and that way. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm going to do, first I'm going to pin it. And then I'm going to do a blanket stitch. I think I said it, I did not enjoy this task. But I'm learning. What did I learn? So far I've learned that I need to have the right tools, and 2, applique is much more complicated than I thought it would be. Right, so here's my branch right here, and this is the border. Alright, so I'm on the blanket stitch setting, and I picked a color that is probably going to contrast too much. I picked a purple, but I wanted something that contrasted. Okay, so when you do the blanket stitch, you want your needle to be right outside the edges, right here. All right, and this is your guide mark, is the edges, so you got to keep the needle, and the needle is going to move to the left too. All right, I'm hoping you can see, and it's not going out of focus. So we're gonna go really slow. All right, so you can see. I'm gonna remove this. I don't need that pin right now. Okay, all right, so here we go. You see what it's doing? And I'm staying right outside. It's complicated because the camera is in the way. Okay, so I'm not sure if I can zoom in. I think it's gonna come out of focus, but basically this is the blanket stitch. I don't think you can see it. I'm running out of focus. All right, maybe a little bit here. All right, can you see that? Okay, so that's, there we go. So that's what it looks like. That is a blanket stitch, and the purple barely shows anyway. So listen, this is very, very tedious, okay, and I have the entire tree to do, and what I'm doing here is when I get to a piece where it's poking out, I'm just tucking it right back in order to follow the branch. So that's the reason why it's taking a long time. So today is actually Wednesday and I'm almost done. I had to stop, you know, and take care of the house. So I just want to show you where I'm at, and I'm going to give you a couple of tips. Number one, I really didn't need to be bothered with doing this shape thing with the wax paper, since the paper I had was plastic coated and it didn't work. You could just cut the whole thing, and if you have two choices here, and I'm going to show them to you. Choice number one, you just cut at 1/4 of an inch from the line on your paper. So this is a close-up. So choice number one, you cut the fabric at 1/4 of an inch from the mark, right? You remember? And then you fold it, and I use the starch, and this is what you do. You fold it like this, and you're going to do your stitching here. You can either do it by hand like we do the binding with invisible stitch, or you do the blanket stitches, which is what I'm doing. Or you cut it exactly on the line, and it's going to give you an edge, right? That's somewhat fraying. Don't worry about it, because what's going to happen is that if you cut directly on the line and you sew with the blanket stitch directly on the line, once the blanket stitch is in place, you can take your scissors and cut those little fray that come off the fabric. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to finish this, and then I want to show you what you do when you get to the end here, at about here, and what you do for this part and round the corner. So this is the part I'm talking about that's still fraying. Okay, so you have two choices again. You can either, if I had folded it properly, I'm sorry, my hands are in the way. You can either fold it under, right? And you're going to do your stitches over that part. Or that's if you cut it at 1/4 of an inch from the pencil mark, all right? And you just go like this to get all that fray underneath it. You see what I'm doing? Okay. If you didn't cut it 1/4 of an inch with the intention of folding it under, and you just cut it exactly where the mark is, again, don't worry about the fray, because that can be cut off. So I have the end here, and this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to just pull that under, and I like it better actually. Oh, the kids are coming back with the dogs. I like it better when it's folded under, because what it does is that it raises this part here after you've done your blanket stitch, and it almost gives a 3D effect on your branch. It's kind of, you know, making it a little bit puffy, I guess. As the branch gets smaller, I'm doing smaller stitches that are closer together. So I started with stitching that was at 3.5 in space, length of stitch, and 3.5 in height. When I got towards the end of the branch, where the branch gets a little bit skinnier, I'm doing 2.5 and 2.5. So my stitches are a little bit shorter and less and closer together. All right, but now I'm getting to a part where the branch is starting to be a little bit thicker. So what I'm going to do is move my stitch length back to 3.5. I'm keeping the same height, and then I'll move the height to 3.5. right, so I am at the part now where I am getting to the intersection of one branch to the other, the Y, I guess. So I'm going to show you how to do this. Keep going, right? And then you're going to stop stitching when the needle is basically at the Y. Not here. And right here. Okay. You're going to lift the foot and you're going to flip. This is the part where you have to basically bring all of your fabric through the throat of the machine. Okay, and you reposition yourself where you need to be. Get the foot down, right? You see, I only have one eye. And off you go, you start. So I'm at the part where the branch is starting to become a little bit skinny again. So this one here, I'm going to tuck under, doing the same thing. But what I'm going to do, let me pull that up so I can really tuck it under like that. I hope you can see what I'm doing. What I'm going to do is start reducing my stitch length. So I'm going down to 2.5. I'm keeping the height at 3.5, and then I'm going to do a few stitches that way. To transition it to a smaller stitch. Okay, and now I'm going down to 2.5 and 2.5 for both height and length. And I'm going to tuck that in also. You pick and choose if you want to tuck everything in or keep edges raw, or if you want to do a mix. I'm doing a mix because I do want the branch to have bumps. You know, I don't want it to be straight lines. I'm at the end of the branch, so I'm just going to do a couple of stitches until I can see that my needle is exactly at the end of the branch. Then I'm going to lift my foot and I'm going to pivot the fabric this way. I'm going to do the end of the branch until I get to that part where there's no more of the branch fabric, and I'm going to turn it again. Remember, we're in the slowest, remember we're at the smallest stitch length and height. There we go. And again, as the branch starts to get thicker, you gradually increase the height of your stitch and the length of your stitch. So I've done the whole thing, and I just want to show you something real quick. For those of you who decided not to fold the fabric under in order to do the blanket stitch, or you can do a zigzag, by the way, you'll notice that, and I spoke about it earlier, you'll get some fraying. So meaning that some of the thread, I'm trying to show you, can you see it right here? Some of the thread from the fabric will poke out. So all you got to do is fold. I'm trying to do it in a way where you can really see what I'm doing. Okay, here we go. All you got to do is fold the fabric like this, all right, where you have the edges of your branch or whatever design you're doing, and then wherever you got some of that frayed thread, you just cut it off. Now you don't want to cut off the stitching you did with the blanket stitch, okay? You just want to cut off those little pieces of thread. You just want to cut off those little pieces of thread that are poking out. That's it. All right, so you do that along the entire branch. Whenever you have one of those thread that comes out, like here I have one. So again, you want to fold it like this, and you're basically forcing your little threads to poke out, and you just go right there on the edges and you cut it off. All right, so we're going to do that throughout to see if we have any other threads, and we are done with this part. Right, so you see, it was a lot of work, but listen, if I can do it, you can do it. This is done, you guys. Again, I'm sorry it was a little confusing about the applique. I really thought it was going to work and it didn't, but I managed to save the day doing it with the blanket stitch. And again, you can do a zigzag if you want. You don't have to do a blanket stitch. And I think that the next time I have to do an applique on a quilt top, what I'm going to do is use the fusible fabric instead. That way I can just apply the applique directly onto the fabric and kind of like sort of glue it and then do the stitching around it. It's probably going to be much easier than the method that I chose. But then again, this was the first method I've chosen to do to use for my very first applique technique, and I may have picked the hardest one. You never know. So that would not surprise me. So I hope you like it. Please share your pictures on Facebook. I know that a few of you have sent me messages. Lorna in particular sent me pictures of what she's doing with the leaves right now, and then I think it's Kim who showed me her top. So Kim, this is what yours is going to look like if you continue to do this quilt along. All right, so I'll see you next time, sometimes within the next few days, for the finishing of this quilt. I hope you liked it. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. If you like the quilt top that I just completed, give me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe right here in the corner. Again, I am not a professional quilter. I am just somebody who enjoys it very much and wants to share the experience with our subscribers who are interested. Okay, I say goodbye and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, you guys. Bye.